So ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Mr. Shyam Sundar talking on financial wellness this afternoon. Can we give him a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen?
Good evening. It's not an easy task to follow Mr. Irani. I was supposed to come before lunch. Firstly, I think we're all in a very nice place. We are in a growing economy. We're in a society where wealth creation is happening at a pace like never before in our country. And the good news is this is going to happen for a long, long time to come. Now, how much are we ready to get the most out of all this? I'm going to tell you a simple story about how I started my own journey in the investment world. When I started in the investor, it was before liberalization. India was just opening up, and we were a very slow-moving economy. In those days, if you ask someone, how much money would you need? A crore of rupees looked like a princely sum. How much wealth would you need? A plot of land was 1 or 2 lakhs in any locality in Chennai. So if you ask somebody how much wealth would you need, he would think a crore of rupees is good enough. Today, is it good enough? Can somebody retire with just a crore of rupees? The answer is no. So, most of us don't even realize how much wealth we need just to live a decent life. And it is so important, no matter what our financial status is. You could be a businessman with a lot of wealth, and yet the wealth you have may not last beyond 1 or 2 generations. Sometimes not even your own generation. Because the lifestyle you lead would be very, very different from what your wealth can service. If you're coming up, there's so many young people who are coming up. If you're one of those coming up in life, then you would need to know what is the lifestyle you're going to lead in the future, and you need to have enough wealth to lead that lifestyle. Most of us keep adapting as we go along. We don't have a clear direction of how much we should have to live the life we aspire for. And the important thing is, as you grow, your aspiration keeps changing. I was coming in and I saw this lovely car standing there, and I was thinking, 10 years back, would it have been this type of a car of this size, even if it's the same brand? Or what would have been the spec of the car? And I realized that the same brand that we probably aspired for costs very differently every decade. So even if you're going to have the same car in your life every decade, let's say you're a fan of the great brand and you're going to stick to that, the amount of money you need to just maintain the same status in your life is very, very different with every decade. Most of us don't know that number. We think that our wealth would be enough to maintain the same lifestyle for decades, whereas it would not. But knowing this number is very, very important. I told you about how I thought that a crore of rupees is a lot of money in 1990. With every decade, you can keep adding a zero and you still think that the money is not a lot. So if you say 10 crore in 2000 and 100 crore in 2010, in 2020, 1,000 crore in India is not great wealth. There are so many people in Chennai who have worth more than 1,000 crores. So the whole dimension of how much wealth a person needs keeps changing. So knowing how much wealth you need is important to you, irrespective of what you do in life. You could be a businessman, you could be a professional, you could be a teacher, you could be anything. But knowing how much wealth you need is extremely important. You know what you need, but do you really know how much you can create? I see a lot of people who come to me as part of my work, and I ask them, how much wealth can you create? They would be having $1 million, and I would ask them, what would be the wealth that you would create in the rest of your working life? Even after making $1 million, people have no idea of how much wealth they would create over a decade or two. The reason is that we are very much affected or very much obsessed by the next year or two, by recency of both the past and the immediate future. So we don't really know how much wealth we can create. Most people who run the biggest or the best of businesses cannot predict what would be the value of their company after 5, 10, 15 years. They have no idea. Today you see so many companies in Chennai which are worth 1 lakh crore. How many of you know that there are companies worth 1 lakh crore based in Chennai? There are several of them, right? I have known these promoters for a long time, for over 30 years. And if I told them 20 years back that their company would be 1 lakh crore, they had no idea. And these are the best entrepreneurs. But it's equally important for people who are in the middle class, who are in service, who are in all walks of life to know how much wealth they can create, which means that you must be able to do the math, look at the future, and not be stuck in the present or in the past. So every one of you must be aware of how much wealth you can create. And it's actually easy. We do this work for so many people and are always surprised that they are not aware, despite being so successful in their lives, that they could do so much in the future. So knowing how much wealth you can create gives you an awareness and a purpose and a direction, which keeps you focused in not only getting there, but probably getting far beyond that. How many of you know where your finances would be 5 years from now? Most people don't know that. For example, if you're in a field where your income fluctuates, let's say you're an actor, can an actor tell you what would be his finances 5 years from now? If you're in a business which sees a lot of technological obsolescence, can that person say where he would be 5 years from now? Irrespective of what you're doing, you must have a fair idea of where your finances would be 5 years from now. Let's say your finances are today at 10 crores. 5 years from now, what would be a reasonable number that this 10 crore should grow into? How many of you have an idea what it should be? You could easily double your money in an economy like India in 5 years. Assuming you just have the 10 crores today, it'll be double in 5 years. But it's not that. You still continue to earn money. You make income every year. You save money. You invest extra money. Most people don't add that sum into their corpus while they make this math. Because we are not able to project, or we don't make the effort to project. Let me share a small secret. When you do this projection, you actually become focused on earning that money, saving it, investing it, focusing on it, making it grow, measuring it, and finally getting not just to where you thought you would get in 5 years, but maybe even a little farther. Knowing this would mean that projecting your life into the future, right? In the present, you have to imagine your future 5 years from now. Now, if I told you that you got to project your life 10 years from now, most people never do this. Because they think 10 years is a very far duration. It looks like, very, very far away from where we are. But ask yourself the question, how did the last 10 years go by? Was it slow? Was your life moving at a slow pace? Answer is no. It went like that. Which means that before you realize what is happening, your life moves at such a pace. And if you don't think about your finances in a way which is focused, it would not be able to get you to where you could get. So, unless you're going to think through your life into the future, have a clear idea that in the next 10 years I am going to do all these things. Many people have a lot of life events. They get their children married, they retire, they go on holidays, they build a nice holiday home, they travel around the world, they set up new businesses, they sell businesses. They make money out of that. There's so many things that people do. People sell their real estate and then turn it into financial assets. Every little thing can actually be mapped, and you can have a fair idea of what you would get out of that exercise. So 5 years is not just the duration, even 10 years is something that you need to look into the future. Many people have to actually do this for 20 years. You must be able to predict your financial state 20 years down the road. You know why? Simple. You are in a wellness conclave, and the subject you have discussed all day is longevity. How many of you would agree with me that our longevity is only going to increase from here as a society? It's going to go longer. So if you have to live longer, you have to project your financial state much longer. You can't think of just the immediate 5 or 10 years. You need to think much longer than the present. So you need to think 20 years down the road. And when you think for a much longer duration, when you think of the future in the present, you start thinking of how you will fulfill what you need in your life into that future. Which means, today you think that if I have to lead this life 20 years down the road, how much money do I need today? Which would grow into the money that I need tomorrow. If there is a gap, how much should I create, save, invest, and grow to fulfill that life that I want 20 years down the road? It's very, very important that we imagine our financial state in the future. Imagine the life we want to lead in the future and map these two together. They need to basically align. Only if you do that, you can live the life which you aspire for. Most of us work very, very hard to achieve what we want in the present. But that is we working for money. There's a more important part in our lives, which is money working for us, right? Most people are very good at working for money, but most people are very, very ordinary in making money work for themselves. When you look at the long term, when you look at 5 years, 10 years, 20 years of your life into the future, you start aligning your thought process to how you're going to make money work for you, rather than just thinking about how you're going to work for money. The good news is that money works much better for us. It is capable of working much better for us than how we can work for money. Let me explain. I have these clients who worked with me for 25 years. In the first 5 or 10 years of their life, they were doing business. They were earning money. They were saving a lot of money. They were investing this money. But after that, slowly, they decided to take it easy. The business also didn't support too much. And it reached a stage where they were not making money. Their money-making phase in their life slowly, went down. It slowed down, and then finally one day it stopped. But because they had started making money work for them in those years when they made a lot of money, when they worked for money, once they stopped working, the money worked for them, and they were able to live their life exactly the way they wanted to live because the money was working for them. And money worked for them much better than they worked for money. Let me explain. In the years that they worked, they would have saved in lakhs, money in lakhs, and invested, and not disturbed that money for a decade or two. After 2 decades, they were able to get from the money that compounded, from the corpus that got built by the compounding of money in crores. The money was working for them. And that money was useful for them to live the life that they aspired for. So that is why knowing what your financial state and being able to predict it and working towards converting your prediction into a reality is very, very critical, because most of us work very, very hard in the present to live the life that we are capable of, to reach our full potential in our careers, in business, in whatever walk of life we are. We give it all we got in the present. But it is important that you also make the outcome of what we get in the present work for us for a long, long period of time, like 20 years, after which the money would work for us than we working for money. This inflection is something that doesn't happen overnight. It takes a long, long time, which is why I am giving you 3 timelines of 5 years, 10 years, and 20 years. Many of you may think that this only applies to very rich people or business people or, those who always are rolling in money. It's not true. It applies to every single person for the simple reason that compounding has a dramatic way of turning money into something far more powerful than any of us can imagine. But there is one problem with this. The road to financial wellness is like a treadmill. If you go to the gym, you would be on the treadmill every single day. It's a habit. You have to keep doing what you need to do every single day. Similarly, if you are going to make money work for you in the future, in the present, you need to work with money in a way which is very focused, very disciplined, and very methodical. In fact, it has to be something marked by distinct rigor, and you should never miss a step. So that is something that most of us have to internalize, because we don't internalize. We think, okay, we'll do this after a while. Most people who start working or who are in the pink of their professional success think that they would save and invest later and live life to the full in the present. When they do that, they are not even on the treadmill. And when you are not on the treadmill, you skip the road to future financial wellness, which means you must make your money work out for you every single day, and you must never take it off the treadmill until a day comes when you want money to work for you. This is something that's very, very important. I want all of you to internalize this. The most successful people who created the best wealth, all of you are living in localities in Chennai, you would see big, big houses belonging to people who lived in the past. They may not even be around today, right? In their growing years, they built those houses as a small part of their success. It's not everything, it's just one portion of what they achieved in their lives. But once they stopped growing, you would find that those who followed them, or even in their own lifetime, they themselves would need to, let those assets go. You need to sell those assets for money, right? The reason is very simple. They knew how to grow for a limited period of time, and that period of time is not sufficient. So growing your wealth continuously is the only way of preserving it. The day you stop growing your wealth, you start living off your wealth, and your wealth starts diminishing. And when your wealth starts diminishing, it's going to recoil on your lifestyle, change everything about what you can do, reduce your financial capacity, and as a result of that, make your life smaller and smaller and smaller. It's a kind of a shrinkage that happens in our life. So the only way you can preserve wealth is by continuously growing it, because otherwise, your money, your wealth would not be adequate to lead the lifestyle that you are presently living and what you're aspiring into the future. So growth has to be a way of life. How many of you know this slogan of Reliance? Growth is life. That is the slogan which Reliance had about a decade ago. And since then, they have gone 15 times up in the valuation of their company. 15 times in a decade, right? So growth is very, very important, even to just preserve the wealth we got, because otherwise we're going to turn our wealth into capital to live the life that we want to live even in the present. This is something that we don't think. A lot of people don't think about the future. They say that, oh, I live the life I want, and it's all about only me. But it doesn't end that way. There are people who follow you. Indians are all very family oriented. We leave behind legacies. It's not a society where people just live and die leaving nothing. So financial wellness of a person or a family doesn't end with that person's life. It outlives them. So you see all of you, you would have some legacy, something that your parents left behind. If you moved from a village to a city, there would be some farmland in the city. If you lived in the city for a very, very long time, there would be some properties that people leave behind. There's so many things that people leave behind in our country. And it's a very normal way of life. So financial wellness is not just about having enough for us, but also creating enough for those who follow us as a legacy. And it's important for us to internalize that we are not like the West, and financial wellness lives beyond us, and it's something that stays even when we are not around. This is the point that I'd like to make on a closing note. Financial wellness is not about an individual. It is not about just our lives. Financial wellness is something which even transcends physical wellness. Physical wellness is only about ourselves. It's only about our body, about what happens to us in the present, in our lifetime. But financial wellness is not like that. It is something that outlives us. It outlives not only us, but even those who follow us in our lives. And financial wellness is actually meant for perpetuity. So all of us have to understand that this is a subject that's not just as important as physical wellness. It's probably more important, because if you have enough to live the life of your desire, the life of your dreams, the life of your aspiration, and if you can also ensure that those who follow you are not only going to lead the life of their aspiration, maybe even grow that aspiration into the future, then your sense of financial wellness is going to give you and those who follow you a life like nobody else could experience. And it is only when you think of financial wellness from a sense of perpetuity that you're going to create such a life. I wish all of you a great life that gives you the financial wellness in the present, into the future, and for perpetuity. Thank you for having me this evening.
Can we have a big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, for that very, very interesting session? I'm sure that we all learnt a lot. Colonel David and Dr. Renu, requesting you all to please join me on stage to do the honors. I'd also like to call upon General Anbu to please join us on stage to present Mr. Shyam Shekhar with a token of our appreciation.